Welcome to Weeaboo Hell. It's Weeaboo Hell. This is our third time recording this opening because I didn't plug in one of the mics the first time. And believe me, you missed some fucking great jokes, some of the best of our career.
You're not missing him now, because I can't come up with a riff here.
We are actively depriving you of content. Anyway, I'm Dennard Dale, aka Blind Monkey.
I am Sam Legault, aka Mute Monkey.
And today's show...
It's just one today.
Just one
today. It was
today.
going to be two, but the second one was so goddamn boring, we decided to stretch this one out to an hour, because I think there's an hour's worth of material.
Yeah, in fact, you know what? I'm going to dedicate 5 minutes to talking about the first show, just to make our description accurate.
Cool. But can you remember its name?
I can remember its name. That's the only thing I can remember about it. It is Val X Love.
Goddamn, that's good. That's better than I'm doing right now, because I forgot what that show was the second I started watching it.
Motherfucker, I am a professional. And its opening line was to the effect of, "A maiden's power is love," or something like that. I don't know.
We've got it written down in the notes or something. It starts out with what is kind of being advertised as a truism or something. It's mostly just a meaningless string of words. And,
actually, it's a little worse than a meaningless string of words. There's a layer between, like, cliche and truism that's just sort of word vomit. Like,
and that's where this thing lives?
Yeah, there are ideas that are tried, but not interesting or insightful.
I almost feel disingenuous talking the kind of shit that I'm about to talk about this thing, because, in fairness, I didn't make it 10 minutes into the episode, but it was so boring. I remember the OP. I was watching the OP, and I give a couple more fucks about OPs than Dennard does.
Just a few more. I think I give 2 demi-fucks on the metric fuck scale, which aren't, as popular in America as imperial units.
I think I give 2 fucks, except there's an E after the K.
I think in America the unit for a fuck is a retweet. I give no retweets about OPs. I mean, I notice when they're good or bad, but...
The point being, this show begins with its OP. Like, we don't get a cold open or really anything. A lot of the time, you'll notice that the first episode of an anime these days does not even feature the OP. Like, it'll be playing over the song from the OP will be playing over the end credits of the first episode, and that's what you get. I watched this OP. It plays right off the bat. It's barely animated. Everything is either just being flashed in front of you and it's flat and nothing's moving, or if it is moving, then it is moving across the screen. Still not animated, just being moved from one side of the screen to another.
It is real Newgrounds, and I don't mean their better moments. I mean the things that 13-year-olds threw up on there between, I don't know, math and English class. When they let you into the computer lab after you pick the lock. The OP did give me a thought with that fucking show, though.
Well,
and I know why they just put it out there. In sales, they always say just, when you have bad news, just get the elephant in the room out the way. Just attack it head on. And they knew with that OP, they didn't have shit. Because, like, a lot of these shows, like, they go for that cinematic feel in that first episode, and then, like, what opening will go with it in the future is, like, a little treat for the second episode for the people who, like, stick around and keep watching. And they did not want to set themselves up for failure. They're like, someone on every staff is smart. And that was one of the smart guys' calls, just like, front load it.
Just do it. Just fucking do it. Just, like, if they're gonna watch, they're gonna watch.
Yeah, that is the exact mentality going on there. So yeah, what else about Val X Love? We might have been talking longer about Val X Love than we actually managed to watch it, due to this sort of vast field of nothing that... I don't know, it starts off a comedic tone, like it's headed towards some kind of partner battling ecchi show.
This is definitely going to be a shonen action bit, but God, did we not get to that part, because everything was just so goddamn generic. I couldn't pay attention. My eyes were sliding to my phone.
I think the
entire time
where we died, it was the second time the idol came up. Someone in this fucking high school. It's in a high school. Do you know why? Because you're listening to a podcast called Weeaboo Hell. But yeah, this pop idol classmate comes up for the second time, and Sam says, in this relatable voice I can't reproduce with my dulcet Negro tones, "I just don't fucking care." And he ended up turning that one off at that point.
We were considering, we were scrolling through the list for this season for fall 2019 before I decided, no, our second offering actually has enough going on that's interesting and that we can talk about that we're just going to spend the rest of the runtime on this one. And I'm excited to talk about this show. I'm not going to say that I like this show. I still haven't made up my mind about this show because it is, I'll call it frustrating. I like using the term frustrating because you can use that term for a show that you haven't quite the dust really hasn't settled on it yet for you. It's a term that I like to use for shows that have a whole lot of good shit, that build up a whole lot of goodwill, and then squander just as much of that goodwill by doing dumb shit. And being like not as smart as they should be, and they've got good ideas in there, and there's a really great show just begging to be released from it. It still has to be an anime at the end of the day. Now I'm denigrating the entire medium, and I'm not trying to do that. It still has to.
Oh, I like denigrating entire mediums. Do it. Breathe in the dark side, Sam. Let the worst you come out. I'm like your life coach, but, sort of played backwards.
It still has to have all sorts of fucking anime bullshit in it at the end of the day. And not all anime has to have anime bullshit in it. Some of the best anime does not have anime bullshit in it. And, in fairness, some of the best anime has anime bullshit in it. Brotherhood is full of anime bullshit. Mostly they front load it towards like the first half of the series.
Yeah, those were definitely the weakest fucking episodes of that show, by the way. Like,
there were no weak episodes of that show.
I'm not saying they are weak episodes. I'm saying least mind-blowing, least life-changing.
There might have been weak spans of a couple seconds in that show, for sure. But surely you are not saying that there were any weaker episodes of that show.
Oh, I'm sorry. Inshallah, I have sinned before the Great One. And yes, there are no weak episodes of Brotherhood, merely lapses of faith in the strength of the material that shall not be.
I will let you off with... Hi, we're back from an edit just now, as I made a joke that I did not think about before making it, and it was not a good joke.
Fun fact, not every joke that we come up with about religious extremism or realism makes the final cut of the episode, because sometimes we say some shit.
Sometimes I accidentally joke about a type of corporal punishment that has... Implications.
It happens to people.
And I didn't mean it, and that wasn't the idea. Let's move on, shall we? Let's move on,
sure. So when it comes to the show's exact quality level, and I may have used this for a different show, but it has breached that threshold where as a child, it's on television, it's on, and you don't change the channel.
And you're watching it.
Like, there's enough going on to keep you there. There's an idea.
Anime Network, right? Anime Network,
yeah.
Every now and again, on Anime Network, though, you'd get, like, a really fucking, like... You would get a good one, like,
there would be some gemstones. This isn't exactly
Fumofu.
A gemstone.
You get, like, Fumofu.
Fumofu was a great
Fumofu is
ride.
gold.
It's a great ride. We're not comparing this to Fumofu.
No.
If I were to compare this to a program, or at least my opinion on a program...
Do we name it yet? We haven't named it yet.
We haven't named it yet. Wow,
So this is the kind of out of nowhere, kind of dark horse hit of the 2019 fall season.
I can never fucking predict this shit. I never know who's gonna win.
A bit, and like near as I can tell, in the circles in which I kind of pay attention to, it has been getting some traction.
He means the Animemes subreddit.
Animemes, I go on forums too. Forums, I'll go on A sometimes. I don't like going there. It
always feels like a mistake, doesn't it?
It really always does.
Like, I go on CO all the time, and afterwards I say, why did I do that?
I just know it's still happening every day, and I don't like it yet. But this is Oresuki, which is the shortening of the full Japanese title, roughly translated to "Are you the only one who loves me?" It is a parody of the harem genre, which is a genre of which I've consumed a baffling amount.
I don't know, does it get the word parody hardwired into it? It has a real half commitment to that idea.
It
It
does.
has that meta-fictional lean on the wall that a lot of anime is attached to right now for reasons that I do not comprehend or appreciate.
It feels like it's got some contractual obligations to fulfill. I know that it doesn't, but
It feels like there's a man in a suit yelling in the back, "You haven't leaned on the fourth wall in 3 minutes. Do you also pull your fucking funding fucknuts, or you're gonna do what we pay you to do?"
Yeah. So the premise of this
Dennard.
show...
I'm a cursing dispenser. I'm here to provide all 7 words you can't say on television, except for the word, okay, what, shit, fuck, cocksucker, etc., etc. Did I say cocksucker instead of cocksucker? Am I censoring myself? Are there words I won't say? Oh, right, we just cut out that entire bit about... So we're back.
corporal punishment. So we're back now. So the premise of this show is fairly creative. And you'd probably find it mildly entertaining if you've watched as much anime as the two of us have, which is, it is kind of a parody of the harem genre where the main character
Kinda, sorta.
the main character is more or less a side character in another harem show. At least
spoilers abound, by the way. Like, if you're the type who watches every show every season...
The first episode kind of plays the first half or so of its runtime out completely straight, after which a twist drops, and the rest of its runtime is kind of just the fallout of this twist. The idea is that...
It, like, throws itself in as a potential cliche storm, except... It goes with this cold open that doesn't really help the first episode at all. Like, let's get cold open.
Let's get through the premise first. The premise of this show is that the main character is a side character in someone else's harem show, right? Mm-hmm. Who is interested in 2 different women who, on 2 separate occasions, tell him that they are both into his best friend. They even tell this great story about the moment that they became into his best friend.
There is a recurring gag that is just different angles geographically blocked out of them watching his friend after this baseball game have a come to Jesus moment and falling in love with him at that point. Meanwhile, our main character is basically just loading a revolver and thinking about putting it in his mouth. Only the show sort of runs over those jokes by... Just let me get this out of my system now, because it's sticking with me.
Sure.
It has, like, that clever premise. It has some other clever ideas. Every time one of these things come into play in the show, it, like, runs over the joke.
Someone will call attention to the joke. Someone will call a whole lot of attention to the joke. Like, you just made a joke at work, and someone laughed, and then you explain the punchline to them. Just like, hey, yeah, that was a real knee slapper, guys, wasn't it? And
everyone just sort of looks at the body of your joke just burnt on the fucking break room floor. The running of the joke isn't that bad. The show is still watchable, goodish.
Oh, it's absolutely watchable. I would even go so far as to call it fair. Or maybe I'm being unfair here, because there were points in this show where I was invested, actually. I found myself really...
Engaged?
I found myself pretty engaged with
with
the characters and surprised,
Aroused?
genuinely. No.
Go on.
Found myself genuinely surprised with the little twists and turns that they took, which is good. That's good. I felt surprised without feeling like I'd been cheated or anything, and that's a good sign right there.
That is a thing you want, and sometimes they don't run over the sort of layering of this gag. There's some layers before and below what we described as the premise, but it's all jokes of that nature, like riff on the genre.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't run over it, or if the joke is just strong enough that's still funny anyway, I really enjoy it. Like, the first 2 times that it dropped its main thing, to the show's eternal credit, my notes just have the words blacked, which... So really points to them, because they did make me... pretty fucking straightforward.
Oh yeah, no. There are a couple of real knee slappers in even the first couple minutes of the show.
Oh, actually, the second time that they layered that gag, I also wrote the myth of Sisyphus, which is a fun one to have attached to yonder love life.
Mm-hmm. The other kind of twist in that show, the first one was that, both of this characters, kind of heretofore love interests are both in love with his friend. The second big twist is that this dude is kind of a garbage human being who has been sort of putting up this front of, I'm an anime side character, kind of lovable idiot, whoever, there's two women going after the same guy, and, whoever loses, I'll pick up the sloppy seconds or whatever, right?
You could almost draw comparisons to one of the hits last season. I guess there's one rom-com that works every season, maybe. No, that's generous. We've had 2 lucky seasons. But, sorry, I'm not a rom-com aficionado. In fact, in my review of the show, keep in mind that I generally hate this shit, so the fact that I think it's okay, maybe it means that instead of a C, it's a B. Take my opinion with a grain of salt, I guess, but...
Sure, noted. Hey, I decided that I really fucking love Domestic no Kanojo, by the way. We did an episode about that quite a while back, and oh man, I could not stop. I watched it the whole way to the end. I dragged Dennard to my house several times so that we could watch that show, and I could yell at Natsuo. I guess. Fuck! It's so rare that I remember the name of a fucking rom-com protagonist, but here I am remembering his name. Yeah, no, fuck that guy.
Okay, well, so the comparison I was gonna make.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Like, it's an interesting comparison because, like, that one, you had, like, smart, dumb people trying to play Death Note with their love lives. And what makes this show... This is
Kaguya-sama you're talking about, right?
Kaguya-sama's smart people.
Not Domestic, not Kanojo. That's dumb people who aren't even trying to play a game, but are just realizing that if you lie enough, it catches up with you.
And this show is basically a less soap opera, try to stay more on a comedy wave, like occasional depths of soap opera, take on dumb people trying to play, like, Death Note love games.
Yeah, none of them seem to be smart enough. One of them seems to be smart enough.
Because a mote of realism, played real cheesy, but a mote of realism within this program is every attempt to set up some kind of, like, wheels within wheels thing falls on his ass within, like, 2 hours. Oh,
absolutely. It's really quite fascinating because I'm expecting that. I don't know if this is going to be a 1-course show or a 2-course show, but it's interesting. There's all sorts of charades. There's all sorts of charades going on with this main character. His name is Kojo.
His name is MC. His name is main character.
I'm going to say Kojo on this one, and if I end up looking like a total fucking moron when we look it up after the end of this recording, then so be it. I've been a moron my entire life. So our
main character, potentially Kojo, but not confirmed by our
sure
UN
it's Kojo.
sources.
I'm like 90% sure this name is Kojo. He starts setting up schemes, right? As early as before the first episode,
Plots.
Right? He pretends to be this, good, genuine dude who's just trying to help out his friends, chase their love interest. And then his love interest in the second episode enlists his help in helping him. Jesus fucking Christ. We're going to get to why I'm getting a little bit frustrated explaining this, but let me just finish explaining the whole premise here so that we're all on the same page. His best friend enlists his help to woo a third girl,
the apple of his eye, who is
herself, not even secretly, she reveals it pretty much the first conversation they have, who is very quite openly in love with him, but he
the exact word they use is stalking. She says she is stalking him. Like They sort of pull out from a yandere kind of thing, at least in the first 3 episodes.
Oh yeah, they pull up. The show kind of...
Maybe they charge it head first later.
We're going to get to this because I think this is a problem that this show has, that it kind of fears the Reaper a little bit on, like, going there. But I want to actually save that discussion for later on, perhaps even the end, because it's kind of a when all is said and done kind of issue. No, so this third girl, they've all kind of got flower motifs. One's got like a sunflower motif. The second one has oh god, it's not
a second flower.
A second small purple flower. Not begonias. I don't know.
We're about to lose our florist license for this one.
But
you get the idea. They all have this symbol attached to them, and we're not really quite sure what it means.
Well, no, because I was going to use their flower motifs as a shorthand for referring to them. I don't know, like the sunflower chick. There's Sun. Sun is the name of the nickname of his best friend.
Tish.
Tish, yeah. They call her Cosmos in the show, so sure, let's go with that. That's the student council
president.
Good luck
not thinking about Bloodborne with that, by the way. Like, I just hear that fucking quote.
If we run into a character named Sky, we will know that her and Cosmos are in fact the same character. And then there's Pansy, who is his kind of creepy stalker love interest, who is,
believe it or not,
for reasons beyond my reckoning, designed pretty intentionally, I think, to look like the chick from Emergence. The fabled 177013. Yeah, that Emergence.
Alright, we're going to focus on that point for all, because you cannot walk past that, because that is such an interesting fucking conscious choice.
It's such a choice, and I don't know why they made it.
I know why they made it, because I know everything generally. But my theory is there was such an outcry. There were so many comics drawing just alternate happy endings for a fucked up life story. Like, people would Photoshop Jotaro stopping time, or fucking
Josuke fixing
Josuke
things.
like punching her life good.
Yeah.
And I think that they realized they could at least guarantee they make a bit of money by just showing a person that looked like that having a good to neutral life experience. Just anything that wasn't that. No drugs, no prostitution, no interesting scenes in alleyways with students.
I have my own theory. I think it's they had far more sinister reasons than that, or at least far more cynical reasoning than that, which is anime smarks, manga smarks. They know all about Emergence. They are the target audience of this show. They are a target audience of this show. They designed this character to look this certain very particular way so that they could attract manga smarks or doujin smarks or whatever the fuck you want to call them. I think
that makes sense. Like, this show approaches its like light mockery of rom-com tropes.
With that sort of meta-ness.
With a sort of yeah.
Like it is a nerd about its own genre,
and it doesn't always work to its benefit in a kind of funny way, because this is a criticism I usually use for worse programs. Mm-hmm. And this might make it sound worse than it is, but this is definitely a show that thinks it's smarter than it is.
Yes, which is interesting because it is smarter than a lot of the shows that we've tackled on this show. And I really wish that it did not get so into itself, because it would honestly be a better show if it got the fuck out of its own way.
That is very true. Like, it'll point out a trope about these confessions or something, and then it'll basically turn to the camera and be like, mic drop. What? I have seen through the rom-com veil. Behold, look at the reality of the world you
Gonna
live
drop
in.
some truth on y'all.
Were any of you ready? You weren't ready.
Your eyes are open now.
And not only does it make them look like they go through the world of a Joe Rogan filter, but it kind of takes away from the joke that they just made when they do that. Because
a lot of the time, it is a pretty good joke.
Yeah. I think that I honestly could go into Adobe Premiere and, like, take this from a 7 to a 7.5 in about 15 minutes.
Oh, just edit out all the... Yeah, no...
Like, I could literally cut out every part. It just sort of runs over itself. And
the one issue is that, as unfunny as the little joke addendums are, joke epilogues, I don't really know what to call them, because they're not jokes in and of themselves.
In stand-up, you call it a tag, I think.
Tag? Okay, sure. I'm not really sure. See, these tags, they're not funny in and of themselves, but they do make for really good reaction image fodder, which I want to... In the age where folks can talk over their phone, right, with GIFs, don't at me.
Is that a marketing strategy at that point?
I'm wondering if it is. I'm wondering if the creation of GIFs or the creation of GIF fodder, we're gonna lose a whole lot of fucking respect from idiots here, because I'm never gonna not pronounce it with a soft J, because it's just like, sorry, I've like that's how I've pronounced it my whole life. Is it wrong? I don't give a shit. Fuck you.
I mean, dude, we're an episode after those jokes I made during Azure Lane, so we've really crossed the Rubicon.
Yeah, fine, whatever. The thing about the whole, like, GIF thing is that people who pronounce it GIF do not feel even half as strongly about the issue. Like, not even a quarter strongly about the issue as the people who could be spending their time doing something more productive than crusading for the hard G there.
It's like, oh, good point. Maybe that is how you pronounce that image file. Did you know that human slavery still exists? You know that. Maybe that could use some of that ATP you're expending on consonants.
Thank you for reading my memo that I wrote in Comic Sans.
Oh, fuck.
God, what the fuck?
But we're talking about, in terms of shows, smarkiness.
Yeah.
It has a gag that is over with the fans, and I do like it. And I just feel like maybe it just bears discussion in the summary of the show.
Oh, yeah, no, because it took me a while to come around to the gag before. Like, the third time, because it is a running gag. The show does a lot of running humor, even, like, 3 episodes in. We watched the first 3 episodes. Because I think that is the proper amount that you should give a show that you have not yet made up your mind about after the first one.
They do have is it literally the 3-episode rule, or is it the 4-episode rule?
It's a 3-episode rule. And then, like, the 5-episode rule, if it is especially arc-driven and you find yourself still on the fence after 3. This is not too arc driven. It's there's a lot of like twists and turns and such, but it's not a show like oh god, what would be a good example of a like
good example
very arc driven show you'd really kind of need to give 5 episodes of before you're ready to make up your mind about it?
Let's see. I was gonna say Psychopaths, but they liked doing a lot of episodic stuff in that.
I'm gonna say any of the Gundam series.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that you should give a Gundam series about 1 core before you decide if you're gonna finish it or not.
You should maybe, like, I don't know, if you want to get like 50 episodes into that.
Yeah, that works too.
If you like start watch the first 50 episodes of any Gundam series, and by the end of that, you can decide if you want to watch the next series, several years later.
And that started out as a joke, and then Gundam Age decided to punch us in the fucking kidneys. So
we've been punched in the kidneys at least once before.
It's hard to forgive. It's hard to love again.
It was called
Destiny.
Yeah, the gag we are referring to, and I didn't have to suffer through it as it was airing, so I was just laughing as I was watching that show because I'd already heard all the jokes. I already knew what I was going into. I was just
imagine like a gypsy fortune teller just told you your baby's going to get cholera and eat shit at the end of this. By the way,
Shin just wouldn't stop fucking screaming. It's great. Sorry, no, let's.
But this gag we were referring to earlier, this is sort of a popular gag, is and comedy equivalent of a spoiler. I think there's some shit that is less funny when you know it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
But like the bench that a lot of confessions happen in a lot of anime. Oh, if you're more of an action adventure kind of type like me, a confession is a construct in anime where
the aloes are at it again.
Where the aloes are at it again, and just 2 automatons that can't figure out how to fuck walk up to each other and say, "Me like you, fellow."
And in anime, it has this tendency to happen on a bench. So when his 2 friends, the one the childhood friend and one the student council president, right? They both tell him that they're into his best friend. They both do it on a bench. By the second time, he's actually acquired bench trauma, which is actually pretty funny. Once I realized what was going on, at the end of the first episode, the creepy emergence chick actually seems to have purchased a bench from like Amazon Now or the Prime Now, I don't know, like an instant delivery type thing. Had it delivered to the library so that she could do it herself. While this is happening, an ersatz version of the Imperial March plays, which I don't quite understand. I think maybe I understand what the idea was. I think there was a better song that they could have done an ersatz version of.
It is really distracting. Like, it is basically 1 key step off on 2 notes from being just the Imperial March. And I get it. It's classic. It's ominous. Or I get it. You were in a rush. But I don't want to say it took me out of it. But I don't know. I shouldn't be talking about your Imperial March knockoff instead of
the gag itself. When the gag itself was being executed, I didn't quite understand what was going on, probably because of this distracting ass Urset's Imperial March. By the fourth time in the second episode, I got it. This motherfucker hates benches at this point.
This whole thing we're talking about, this Imperial March thing, by the way, it's like, once again, this show's fucking problem. I know I jump into the wrestling shit too often, and the show runs over a joke. It reminds me of the way that, like, the WWE will just run over a main event by just putting too much shit. Like, it's like the Hell in the Cell. You can't just hit him with the hammer. There has to be, like, a red light filter over everything and dark, spooky music playing.
The cell
and has to be a ladder on top of a toolbox. Hit with a normal hammer, which you put down, then hit with another hammer.
I was gonna compare it to doing too much shit, to going too far with a gimmick. Like, for instance, all right, we're gonna keep on riffing about how Chad Gable is short. All right, we're gonna rename him Shorty Gable because he's so short. Nope, Gable's too long. This motherfucker's name is Shorty G now. I am deeply confused by this entire... I didn't come here to whine about wrestling. There's actually
we're not here to whine about wrestling. Like, I know a lot of you think that wrestling, particularly WWE, is shallow and stupid, and you are correct.
You're
and they
absolutely
keep proving
right.
you correct every week.
Every single week. No, you'd be well within your rights. You could make an argument, and it'd be a good argument that wrestling is bad.
For those of you of a high school age, I encourage you to go to the WWE fans within your school and bully them relentlessly.
Tell them that their top babyface sucks now. Remember when Seth Rollins threatened to fucking kill Edge?
I do remember that.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. That was like the WWE's bench joke.
God fucking, that was only a couple years ago too.
Yeah.
He threatened to break fucking Edge's neck in front of John Cena, and I believe that he would have done it too.
The delivery was very amusing.
I swear to God, John.
Speaking of which, this show has quite the heel turn.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Because this guy's wholesome friend, who he is going through all these sufferings for... Kinda.
He's like,
mostly for
75% for himself, 25%
this gets back to your committal thing, because it won't commit to him being a dick. He sort of does do things for him.
Yes, that is
friend,
the thing.
But the friend that these two girls are in love with...
As it turns out,
is the cosmic dickhead of this show, to the point where he starts getting into some, like, vague rape threats, which aren't right or wrong to do, but the weird thing about it is that it sort of falls out of the scene.
It kind of is just there for a second, and then it's forgotten about.
Because
like,
that's one of those
you
things...
can just say some shit like that, and it exists in a vacuum, and after that moment, it's like you didn't say... No, that's... No!
That's one of those things where after it happens, like, that episode, if not the show, is about that.
Yeah, that is a line of dialogue upon which the series turns, and it kind of was just incidental. It was really fucking strange watching it kind of happen, watching it play out in front of me, and then watching it just kind of get dropped as the main character. I don't know. The premise of the scene is that the main character is hiding. This is all a situation that's been orchestrated by Pansy, aka 177013 chick, emergent chick, whatever you want to call it. She sort of lures his best friend, former best friend. The guy's name is Sun, as I mentioned very briefly earlier. And baits him into confessing to the fact that he had, his own dumbass Death Note for dumbasses plan of his own into causing the main character Kojo to become socially outcast. And once she has baited him into doing this, he gets on this fucking supervillain rant and then obliquely threatens to rape her. Which
I could do whatever I wanted in this library.
Those are it's not much of a paraphrase. That's more or less what he tells her. After which she says, "Oh yeah," again paraphrase, and then the main character walks out and proves to everyone that he's just not quite that much of a fucking dick. Jesus Christ! I mean,
it's like, okay, I guess you're winning the morality contest with this guy.
But here's the thing
about that gag, by the way.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Well, first off, in terms of like running over tags, The joke itself is good and it still survives, but I really would have cut down his whole explanation of his plan by at least like, I don't know, if it was 5 minutes and needed 2 minutes off. I can't say it was exactly those amounts of time, but like,
Oh yeah, so
it runs longer than it needs to.
real quick, because the whole discussion about Attack on Titan already happened, and we're already sick of it. Bad pacing. It's done. It's over. Yeah, the show has kind of shitty pacing. There's nothing interesting to be said about it besides that.
Fair enough. Micro joke not actually that important, but when he does the standoff with his former friend in that library, and he does like the power of love, like shoulder grab, all I can think is, this guy you're fucking with is an athlete with at least in anime terms 2 feet on you. I feel like this fight isn't gonna go the way that you're hoping.
Yeah, I mean, you think that, and the scene never ends up really going in that direction, but it does make the whole situation slightly less believable. I don't know. I wasn't bothered by it so much.
But I guess what I was going at with it sort of falling out of the thing is his friend's reaction afterwards is, "Aw man, I do feel kind of guilty for being a dick," which is a reaction that you could have to that entire speech until he threatens to really get his felony on. And I'm not trying to do, like, the millennial prude thing. I think you can totally have that show, but, like...
That's the show right there. That's the entire episode, if not the entire series.
It's like, for example, I would also approve if his friend took out a gun and said, "Everybody get on the goddamn floor right now." But then the rest of the episode...
But you can't just go back to things progressing as they had after that. That kind of fucking changes things.
Because this guy has, pulled out his fucking gat at that point, yeah. So there's a joke that threw Sam for a bit of a loop, and...
Which one?
Your face during it kind of made me... I got amused by it, so... There was this recurring meat gag, like, think cow and chicken, just the mentioning of meat.
Yeah,
in the background,
I was fucking perplexed.
Like there were tickets to a movie called Meat Wars.
No, this is really fucking incidental, right? It's just a little thing that's there in the background. Like, you know how like in every anime they don't really want to pay McDonald's for having or they don't want to be paid by McDonald's. I don't know. They want McDonald's to be included in the show, but they don't really feel like associating with McDonald's in any way, shape, or form. So they always call it something like McDonald's or McRonald's. Or something like that,
yeah,
right?
It's the opposite of like the pizza.
It's something along
those.
Yeah, no, I mean, oh man, yeah. I just had some really fond memories of a truly spectacular mess of a show just now.
Oh, yeah.
But no, so it's an incidental gag. It seems to be that the folks who put the gag in there either thought that it was absolutely side-splitting, or I don't know, there was never any second draft. They just got to see Meat World Chicken Kingdom, which seems to be a riff on Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I don't know where to start or end with this. The movie poster. This is just a quick little, like it's there and then it's gone. The movie poster is just a picture of a couple pieces of chicken. I don't get it. No, remember several years back when you just changed your profile picture to a fucking hamburger?
Yeah, I had a thing where I changed all my social media profile pictures and background pictures and like last 4 Instagram posts to just, I guess, burgers. I don't know. I think I just wanted to see how people might react to that apparent breakdown. Like, maybe
did they react?
There were just a lot of questions of why.
Yeah, it was mostly just like, why burgers? Am I missing something? Was this an inside joke?
And I guess Sam is having flashbacks. Like, maybe this is his bench. He has burger trauma. But it's weird.
Not burger
movie
trauma,
tickets,
but it's what it reminds me of.
The movie tickets were for something called Meat Wars.
Meat Wars, which I have to imagine is Star Wars, I guess.
And I just keep on thinking about those old cow and chicken gags. So even then, there was like, it tied it into thing because they're both like walking meat products. But here it's just there.
Meat Wars.
And it's not something that makes the show better or worse, but it's just sort of funny that it happened and we just keep blinking at it, just squinting and trying to peel through the ether and see what it means.
The thing's just, it's just weird is all. It's weird and I don't get it. It's not weird in a way that it's like, ooh, that's weird right there. It's weird in a way that it makes me feel like I'm missing something.
It is what they call a curious and curiouser. There's a gag that is trying to be sort of ironic, but something. I think of like the back in the old days when TV tropes owned the world and everyone's free time.
Yes.
One of them was the dead horse trope.
Yes.
This one makes fun of she's hot without her glasses, but that is a concept that's just been elbowed to death UFC style over and over again over the last 12 years. And they closed their third episode out on the 3-episode trial era. Which is a bold strategy, I suppose, Cotton.
How did it work out for them?
I mean, I know. I didn't turn off my laptop or do the wacky thing where I threatened to throw it through a window, so it wasn't a Class D terrible joke. It wasn't one of the throwaway gags from Azure Lane, which, as I sit here and dwell upon it, I think it's actually might be worse than Handshakers.
That's a statement that bears some discussion.
But I'm getting distracted.
I think that's just, we can talk about that later because I think there's a conversation to be had there, an interesting one. I'm not even sure which side I fall on it.
But first off, this whole like glasses glam reveal thing is spoiled in the OP for reasons that are baffling to me.
Yeah, that's the thing. Oh, the fucking OP, by the way. By the end of the third episode, we've been introduced to 5 named characters. Cool. All right. That's a pretty decent spread right there, right? You could probably milk some amount of drama out of. The point is, we know that most of the drama in this show is going to come from the interactions between these 5 main characters. And I know that the show does have, in fact, a bigger cast than that. And, most shows do, in fact, have a bigger cast than that. And they're going to show up in the OP. But this being a harem show, right? Whether it be a parody of one or not. Whenever characters show up in the OP that are not pretty much immediately introduced, you're really just... They're mid-carders.
They're mid-carders. They're all gonna
you just
fight
look
for
at
that
them like,
white belt.
oh, okay, all right. So I guess I should probably bother to come up with dumb nicknames for you because Lord help me, I'm not gonna remember your actual names. You're just not important enough.
Look at all the walking fast forwards. And you can see they're all holding their little gimmick items. I've got the camera. I'm gonna be journalism girl.
It's helpful. It is that they are telling us which way we should be dividing our attention. Because Lord knows, after however many years of filling my brain with terrible fucking television, I've got little enough left of it as it is.
Whenever one of these fucking things takes off, I always play a little gambling game with myself during the OPs of these shows. Mm-hmm. I try to figure out which one of them is going to be the one that the thirsty internet latches on to. Like, who has the juice? Who is the LeBron James of this?
It's Emergence Chick.
It's Emergence Chick?
It's obviously Emergence Chick.
I don't know. Maybe they're trying too hard. People don't like to be told what to do. Actually, no, that's bullshit. People, they knew exactly what they were trying to do with that 02 shit. We still have not recovered as a fucking community.
Jesus, no. No, even if the show shit the bed, like, everyone still wants to fuck 02 so goddamn bad.
I think people are starting to forget how bad Darling in the Fran XXX was, which is impressive. Because that show died a violent death. A violent yet protracted. It's like it kept getting up.
I think you're gonna have to come up with the explanation on why 02 so survives in the collective consciousness of the anime community now. Because this is some allosexual bullshit that I'm not qualified to talk about.
Sure. So, as standards of living increase in a first world nation, there is a tendency towards a downward trend in the population. Naturally, all of that unused sexual energy within Los Estados Unidos and Japón have to go somewhere, and they are currently staple gunned to 02's 2 horns. Or maybe her horns are these staples that are embedded in the brains of 1,000 young men. Not all of them are, and I'm not calling people like dateless or virgins or anything. I just think that there is a vast well of untapped psychic energy that capitalism has managed to isolate and or manifest and bend to their will.
They're good at that.
And that is how we are going to power fucking cars in the future. Just unshot cum.
Pure animal lust. I think I read an explanation once that Zero Two's appeal could really only have come from the minds of the folks at Studio Trigger, who had come up with a character, A, so uniquely designed, and B, so unbelievably fucking thirsty with a verisimilitude, like a really like well written thirst for the main character's dick, and I think that is that. I'm paraphrasing here, but that is the explanation, as I understand it. That's how it was described to me.
I think there's something to that. I believe that to make that happen, you have to be both a virtuoso and a moron. And that is the essence due Studio Trigger.
Trigger, ladies and gentlemen.
In fact, I am going to borrow a line that I wrote for a dumb promotion for this show. Studio Trigger has a minor league batting average. Because there is a real brain for baseball attached to a real withered arm that... Or maybe it'd be better to flip that. There is a real steroid fuel arm there attached to just a complete lack of a brain for baseball.
This not having really watched that much Trigger, I'm going to defer to you on this one.
I am right.
I mostly know Trigger stuff through fanworks, GIFs, discussion, discourse with a capital D. Because there's something about the sort of kinetically hypersexualized way in which their shows are kind of drawn and animated and how they play out that is somewhat alienating to someone like me.
You're definitely not in their sketch of target demographics there.
And again, this must sound weird because I can have and continue to talk about how Prison School is one of my favorite pieces of media of the last, decade or so. Because Prison School is, whether you like it or not, it is very easy to agree that it is one of the most hypersexualized pieces of media of the last decade or so.
It definitely is, though. I guess it has the intelligence just be about the thing it's fixated on.
It didn't say it's up. Well, here's the thing. We can bring it back. We can bring it back to Oresuki. We can bring it back to Oresuki because both are very meta takes on a certain genre.
Oresuki is just
Oresuki,
literally written by someone who's not quite as smart. They still have something though. Like I kind of have I'm of two minds about Oresuki basically because I can't decide whether it is the product of like a good pen who has like a trash media diet or the product of someone who's not that sharp on the mic but has just been hammerheading better things for some time. Well, and I kind of wonder which way that came together in the paged lens.
Well, I'm not sure, but this does bring me to the one thing that I think the kind of not final word that you can say about Oresuki, but I think its biggest issue is that when you compare Oresuki to Prison School, right? You have Prison School, right? A show that really pulls no fucking punches at any point in time. And then you have Oresuki, a show that is almost there. It's almost there a whole lot of the time. It will be on the verge of greatness, and then it'll just kind of pull up because that show just fears the Reaper. And you really get cannot fear the Reaper with this. You've got a show where it would be perfect if everyone in it were 30 or 40% more of an irredeemable prick.
Yeah, if they could just cross the Peep Show Rubicon.
No, I need a dog barbecue in this show.
This thing would be much
I need
improved.
someone to pretend that they forgot the turkey.
There was one. I remember when the guy finally reveals his bastard status, and the main character, and the main character is reflecting on things in the past that were signs. They had the one like figure it out yourself, idiot thing, and I almost just imagined just a sequence of things like, how you doing, buddy? Choke and die. you're so wacky saying all these friendly things.
It was that scene was actually particularly frustrating to me because it got closer to how I wanted the series to be. It got closer to everyone in it is a fucking prick, and this is just the misery that they make for themselves. Maybe I'm asking this show to be just something that it fundamentally isn't, but if it's wanting me to laugh at its jokes, then I think it needs to sort of adjust who the jokes are being bounced off.
It also just plays the rom-com elements too straight for its own good, to be honest. That's another reason why I think we're drawn to this. Like, too much of it is actually just doing
just the thing.
The rom-com thing. It really does drag you down when you both just do the thing and try to be this clever metafictional thing and try to have a bit of that cynical humor, but there is a way to do that, like, Prison School rides that line at times. And I guess this would almost be a more fair comparison piece for Prison School than what the fuck was that thing? Armed Girl Mock. Oh, that thing was like walking cancer. But I guess this would be like a nice gloves off comparison to Prison School kind of show.
Say
la vie. Press F to pay your respects for Prison School.
God fucking damn it.
Only the good die young.
I want to say that I've never been blue-balled so fucking hard, but no, that's not even close to true.
As we live in a world with a dead Prison School, and what's the current Fate Stay? Which Fate Stay are we on right now? I think it's Alicization Season 2.
No, that's... No, that's the other thing. That's Sword Art Online. No, we're on Fate.
Oh, fuck it.
We're on Fate Grand Order right now.
Sure, okay.
Motherfucker.
Jesus Christ.
No, I mean, like, the really terrible ones with all sorts of minutia kind of, like, blend into each other after a certain amount of time. Fate Stay Night, Fate whatever the fuck, might as well be the same franchise as Sword Art Online. I don't care anymore.
Actually, when I think of their respective flaws, I will not give credit for, because the things that distinguish Fate Stay Night are relatively terrible, but it has its own shitty problems.
Yeah, but it's still, at the end of the day, a show with a whole bunch of shitty milieu, as is Sword Art Online, as is Food Wars. Oh, I don't like Food Wars very much, and I think it is bad.
Everything you love is terrible. I just want you to know that. I'm slowly creeping towards that thesis.
So I think
it's your fault. You listening right there. Why have you done this to me? I used to smile.
Bitch nigga says what? oh, he didn't speak. Anyway, this is a sort of genre, not a genre so much, but it's kind of just an umbrella thing. Just things that go on for way the fuck too long, disproportionate to how actually good they are, and then before you know it, it's only been like 3 years or so, but already it's fucking Homestuck levels of complicated. Just shows that require you to be a fucking mark for that show. Fate series is absolutely like that. Sword Art Online is at this point very much that kind of show. I don't think Homestuck is really the first example of that, but it honestly kind of codified it for me. Just the sort of thing where you're either in or you're fucking out, and if you're in, you're all in.
Those properties where not the interpretation of it, like not in a complete way, but you could have a degree in the show and there would be enough minutia within it to fill out like 8 fucking semesters.
Like, any show that like requires you to be following along with the wiki, that's what I'm talking about right here. And honestly, I don't have time for any of them, and that's why I kind of group them all together, because I'm in my late 20s. I have things that I do.
Remember when you tried to see if drugs could take us through the Netflix one? The one of fucking Mordred?
I do remember. They didn't take us through it.
They did not take us through it. Man, I'm actually feeling a little better about Oresuki now.
No, absolutely, because at the end of the day, Oresuki
Stepped up to the bat.
stepped up
It
to the
tried.
bat. I think
double.
I feel like it grounded out.
Grounded out. Yeah.
I feel like it didn't strike out, but it did ground out. Or I don't know if we're gonna use baseball metaphors here, then I'd say that it probably hit a single, and then when the next batter came up, it got to second base, but by then no, he turned to double play.
This show is interested in the
Can you
extremes
imagine
of the human experience?
Can you imagine being on that bench at that time in that place?
What's it like? What's it take to survive that? We talk about the toughness of an MC. Could we, modern people, survive our friends being confessed to twice?
And I'm not saying that modern people are any, more or less strong than people of decades past, but there's something just kind of interesting and almost kind of foreign about the sort of thing that a harem protagonist would put up with. Isn't that right?
What happens when the societal nuts and bolts just encourage you to limply chase booty with every waking hour?
And at the same time, endure the type of punishment and the type of humiliation that comes with being a harem MC, or in the case of Kojo, not even being a harem MC, being a harem side character, self-professed harem side character.
What's that do to you? I like to think I'm pretty smart, pretty tough, but could I sit through Meat Wars and then get nothing? Could I watch the same confession be reconstructed from 3 different... That is a good joke, actually. That's the joke that really builds on this thing. Just, they geographically block out this stupid fucking baseball incident
that is
4
actually the best
perspectives.
joke that the show does. In the first 3 episodes that we watched, and that they keep returning to this one stupid, inconsequential, little event. They talk about 3 different exits to this high school's baseball studio. 4 different exits: the north, south, east, and west exits to this high school's baseball stadium.
And by the end of this fucking gag,
something
you can
has
draw it.
happened on this day at each of these 4 exits.
Yeah.
Some fucking Kennedy assassination shit.
Yeah, maybe Stephen King will write a book about this confession later. Hopefully it doesn't end like the first part of it. Do you remember... Okay, I have a question, because sometimes I feel like I dreamed this.
Uh-huh.
The kid part of it ended with, like, a weird junior orgy, right? Like, I didn't
See it? No, I did not.
see it, but I read it, and it's like, what? Why?
Truth be told, I kind of avoided Stephen King.
Dark Tower's worth their time.
Yeah, no, that's what I've been told. But I've read a whole lot in my time, and Stephen King is just, like, not one of the people that I've read.
Fair enough, fair enough.
I still think it really needs to be reiterated that this show would be a fucking A+ show if everyone in it were awful. Just irredeemably awful. And thus, we could laugh harder at the shit that they get themselves into. Because it's not that I even feel too much, sympathy or empathy for these characters. It's just that I want to be laughing at them harder.
Yeah, the show's not willing to take that extra step in terms of the distance. And it's kind of interesting because a lot of shows will fail to try to bring some pathos out of a situation, but this one, as a comedy, just steps away from the haymaker moments and just emphasizes the things it does and says, and that doesn't always work out, unfortunately.
In fact, it rarely ever does.
So that's Oresuki. Would you recommend our first show, Val X Love? All
what?
5 minutes you saw of it.
What show? Val X... I don't know what you're talking about.
So imagine you're an intern at an animation studio, and you ask if you should, move the eyes or the hands, and they say no, just mouth flaps. What does that do to you? Just moving mouths.
Now you have to imagine being an animator, in that time, in that place, and being told, to put your career on the line, potentially, with this project. You're given demands, right? They're demanding things of you, and they're giving you nothing in terms of resources. You're being asked to put a show together that is both a high school show, an ecchi show, a harem show, a shonen fighting anime, right? And you're given shoestrings, less than shoestrings. You're given Velcro to keep this thing together. What can you do besides lip flaps? What would you do? What would I do? I don't know. I don't know what I would do in that situation.
But I'm lucky enough not to have to face with that. The societal nuts and bolts encourage me, in the modern era, not to make stupid reheated bullshit. But we weren't always so lucky. The ancient world was a different place. Just isekai, as far as the eye could see. And your father watched isekai. And his father watched isekai. And you, to please those faces in the ancestor room, watch isekai too.
This has been Weeaboo Hell.
It's Weeaboo Hell. I'm Blind Monkey.
And I'm Mute Monkey.
And yes, there are no weak episodes of Brotherhood, merely lapses of faith in the strength of the material that shall not be.
I will let you off with a. No, we can't kick that in. We can't. I just realized the fucking implications behind that one. We're
cutting.
We're cutting that one.
All right, so shit. Where do we start off again? There.